England and Wales, a fairly bright start once again. Still a little bit chilly, but warming up nicely through the course of the day. Once again, particularly western areas feeling very warm in wall-to-wall sunshine. But across eastern areas, still that low cloud set to linger. Still a decent breeze here too, so often feeling chillier with cloudier skies. But otherwise, lots of warm sunshine, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the south. Then as we head into Saturday, the beginning of the weekend, likely a bit more cloud to start the morning, some mist and fog in places, but once again, eventually through the morning, we'll see it clear through, and by the afternoon, wall-to-wall blue skies, plenty of sunshine, but still a chance we could see that low cloud lingering across eastern areas, and it remains fairly similar as we turn into Sunday and Monday, with temperatures widely in the low 20s.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner on the road in this brand new Alnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. We'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. And it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m, I'm Patrick Christys Tonight.
He jumped down to where a black vehicle was waiting for him with the car door open. He hopped in the vehicle and the vehicle left at speed.
The drug dealer that GB News caught escaping prison 6 months ago is still on the run.
We will bring legislation in the coming weeks that means those serving sentences of between 1 and 4 years can only be returned to prison for a fixed 28-day period.
That's handy because Labour want to turf more criminals back out onto the street. Also... Well, after I visited that migrant camp in Calais, the French police appear to have shut it down. GB News has now done more to smash the gangs than the entire Labour government. Oh, you love to see it. But the Prime Minister has been very busy doing this instead.
The land scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent, and I'm not prepared to continue with gimmicks that don't act as a deterrent.
Yes, he scrapped the Rwanda plan, but then today...
What now we want to do, and we're having discussions on, talks on, is return hubs, which is where someone's been through the system in the UK, they need to be returned.
That sounds a lot like the Rwanda plan to me. Plus...
Audiences didn't know something quite fundamental about the child, which is that he was the son of a Hamas official. Isn't that a problem? I don't think so, no.
Gary Lineker just cannot be stopped. Have you seen this? In a jaw-dropping interview, Lineker says that trans people are the most persecuted in the world and everyone who is silent on Gaza is complicit. He did that interview today. Is this the true face, though, of the BBC? Elsewhere, the NHS is offering treatment to trans toddlers. Well, Gary Lineker will be very happy, won't he? Has our health service been captured by trans activists? Also...
I would love reconciliation with my family.
Past the sick bucket, Harry and Meghan have bonded with Brooklyn Beckham and his wife over their shared trauma of toxic family feuds. Give me strength. Plus, the wife of a Tory councillor, Lucy Connolly, who was jailed for an online rant about the Southport murderers, was in court appealing against her sentence today. I'm going to tell you exactly what went on in that courtroom. On my panel tonight is former Tory MP Anna Firth. We've got Daily Express senior political correspondent Christine Cowgie and everyone's favourite ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Oh, and what's going on here? Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Labour has lost a drug dealer. Next.
Good evening. It's 3 minutes past 9. Here are your latest GB News headlines. A man has been charged with a series of arson attacks at properties linked to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. 21-year-old Roman Lavranovich, a Ukrainian national, has been charged with 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. Lavranovich was arrested in the early hours of the 13th of May and has remained in custody after warrants of further detention were obtained. The Prime Minister says the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although that won't include Albania. Sir Keir Starmer is in the country for talks with the Albanian PM to agree separate measures to crack down on organised criminal activities and illegal migration. The PM is looking to collaborate with other European countries to fulfil his pledge to stop the boats. GB News has learned the Home Office is spending tens of thousands of pounds on entertainment for migrants in a Kent processing facility. The results of a Freedom of Information request shows that more than £60,000 has gone to TVs with satellite channels, gaming systems and other entertainment at the Manston Processing Centre. A Home Office spokesperson has told GB News the majority of the expenditure occurred under the previous government. It was used on TV monitors which provided information and instructions for those at Manston. This new government is now reviewing this spend. The Chancellor has welcomed new figures that show the economy has grown more than expected in the first 3 months of the year. She's been meeting workers and giving an address at the Rolls-Royce factory in Derby this morning as new figures show GDP increased by 0.7% between January and March, slightly stronger than economic forecasts. The Chancellor says it proves the government is moving in the right direction, but accepts there's much more to do. And finally, R&B singer Chris Brown has been arrested in Manchester over an alleged bottle attack in a London nightclub 2 years ago. The American musician was arrested in a hotel in the city in the early hours of this morning by detectives from the Metropolitan Police. He is being held on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm at a nightclub in Mayfair back in February of 2023. Well, those have been your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in an hour's time.
Good evening. The government has lost control of Britain's prisons. Do you remember this?
When we were reporting, we saw a man appear on top of this fence, which you can see in the distance, which is topped with barbed wire. He jumped down to where a black vehicle was waiting for him with the car door open. He hopped in the vehicle and the vehicle left at speed. Now, the police are now investigating and the prison have told us that a roll call will now need to take place to try and determine exactly which prisoner it is that's managed to escape from HMP Kirkham.
Well, now GB News can exclusively reveal that Elliot Riley, who was sentenced to 8 years for drug offences, has still not been caught. He escaped Category D HMP Kirkham in full view of TV cameras 205 days ago. This is very bad news for Labour, who yesterday announced that some sex offenders and domestic abusers will face less time behind bars if they are recalled after breaching their bail conditions.
So today, I am announcing a measure that will target the recall population, which has more than doubled in 7 years. We will bring legislation in the coming weeks that means those serving sentences of between 1 and 4 years can only be returned to prison for a fixed 28-day period.
15% of the entire prison population is locked up after being recalled for breaching licence conditions. There is a sense of utter chaos about this. Treasury Minister Emma Reynolds said that domestic abusers and those guilty of sexual offences would not be released under plans to free up space in Britain's prisons. She was wrong about that. They haven't got a clue, have they? In recent days, 2 of Britain's most high-profile prisoners have allegedly attacked guards. Last night, I exclusively revealed that Muslim prisoners have attacked prison officers around 10,500 times in the last 4 years. 12% of our prison population are foreigners. We could start by getting rid of them, couldn't we? But of course, if we tried to, Labour MPs will probably sign a letter calling for them to stay in Britain. Labour say that people will be returned to prison if they break the law. They can't even catch a drug dealer who hopped a fence on live telly. Let's get thoughts from my panel. We have got former Tory MP Anna Firth. We've got senior political correspondent at the Daily Express, Christys Cowgie. Former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Anna, I'll start with you. I mean, this is absolutely humiliating, announcing that they're going to be, making it easier for sex offenders, etc., to get out of prison, and still can't catch that drug dealer who just climbed a fence.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that they would only be recalled for 28 days if they've been involved in these violent offences. But I mean, this is typical, isn't it, of this useless Labour government? I mean, 37 prisoners they released completely in error, dangerous prisoners. How can you possibly release prisoners, dangerous prisoners in error in last September? Now, interestingly, they say they've caught them. Goodness knows how, but they haven't caught the one that GB News
I've got a feeling this guy might be on the Costa del Crime. I possibly have been there for about 204 days now, but there we go. Chrissy, what do you make of this now, then, that Labour are essentially going to make it easier for sex offenders and domestic abusers to spend less time behind bars if they breach their licence conditions?
It's obviously really bad for the public, and I don't know why they're doing it, in the sense that I think there are other options. Let's start from the basics here. There aren't enough prison places, and the previous Tory government were very well aware of this crisis when they called the general election. And I think, to be fair to Labour, the Tory record on building prisons over the last 14 years was probably one of their worst records.
Well, except, Cowgie, the Conservatives actually were responsible for the largest expansion of the prison estate since...
So where are all these mystery prison places, Anna? I don't see them. So what do you think's happened since the general election? I mean, do you think Keir Starmer was there personally at the gate saying, oh, come on, guys, come out, get a grip. Your government didn't build enough prison places. You left a prison crisis. You sat there as an MP and voted week after week after week, and you didn't get enough prison places. But now you're blaming somebody else. Take some responsibility. Take some responsibility.
Why don't you take some responsibility?
Actually, you can build a prison place in 6 months.
Let me finish.
Hang on, you interrupted Christian.
And you interrupted.
I interrupted you.
You both interrupted me, so if I go back to what I was saying, but there is a wider issue here about who is being released. You've just been talking today. We've got so many people in prison for tweeting. Right? On absurdly long sentences, and we're letting out genuine violent criminals. That is the wrong priority. If we're up to me, I'd bring back the Bibby Stockholm, I'd start putting prisoners on barges, anything to avoid early releases. There's every single prison cell in this country got bunk beds, for example. We should be absolutely stuffing these places full before we start letting anyone out.
Well, there also seems to be an incredible rise in female prison officers sleeping with the inmates. So I don't know whether...
You can't blame that on Labour.
No, not blaming the Labour government. Just again makes me question how tough it really is in prison.
But I think a much more serious problem, though, Patrick, is the increasing escalation. I mean, in the last 24 hours, we've had all these violent attacks. And, what we have got to get... The prison officers have got to have the same protective equipment that the police have. I mean,
nobody's going to argue with that.
It's just completely basic.
There is the sense of chaos about this. So you've got Emma Reynolds there, Treasury Minister, saying, look, hey, don't worry, there's not going to be sex criminals and domestic abusers released. And she's just wrong about that. She's had to come out and say...
she said she's wrong. It's not... To be fair to Emma, as you say, is a Treasury Minister. She's a Treasury Minister. She's not in charge of the prisons. She was on to talk about other things, and she made a mistake. The policy hasn't changed. She's not involved in setting the policy. She's not involved in setting that policy. Look, it would have been better if Emma had got the question right. She didn't. I don't think it's the end of the world. She'll know to think about other questions she might be asked that were beyond her brief, her immediate brief when she's next on. The big thing about the announcement...
The
big thing...
You should have been there briefing her.
Well, I'm not actually in the employ of the government, and sometimes I criticise it. I'm not a mouthpiece for my party, Anna. I don't think so. But anyway, on the issue of prison places, the Tories, as Christian has said, unarguably failed on prison places, and that is why this week the Justice Secretary has announced a record investment in building more prisons. Sadly, you can't just wave a magic wand and build a prison. If the Tories took some responsibility, they might not be about to come fourth in the polls.
Although what I would say is I think Labour are missing a massive trick here. Just this week, Lord Timpson, who's the Prisons Minister, revealed... Do you want to know how much it costs to build one cell of a prison in this country? £700,000
one cell.
For one cell.
How?
Just the cost of regular... You know how much it's expensive it is to build HS2, to build roads... Honestly. So if Labour was serious, and actually serious about their growth agenda, one of the very first things Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner should have done is knock their heads together and tear down this country's planning system, which will actually make it quicker and cheaper to build the prison places.
I don't disagree with that.
But the point here is, you can say as much as you like that the Tories didn't build enough prison places, but actually more prison places are now coming online, and they are prisons that were built by the Tories.
Yeah, but they didn't keep pace with rising crime under the Tories.
Or population growth. Two wrongs do not make a right, and the solution cannot be to be...
But where do you put them, Anna, while we build the new prisons? Literally, it's all good to say that, but where do we put them? There aren't any prison places. We're not keeping them empty. There are no prison places.
But your government has let out...
No, because there are no prison places, Anna. Simple. There are no prison places. So you think there are these mystery empty prison cells that are just being kept empty by Labour because of some... I mean, this is cloud cuckoo land.
Anna.
I mean, this is cloud cuckoo land.
The Labour government is, as the Tory was, but they are more than happy to put freshly arrived illegal migrants in hotels. So why can't we, instead of releasing sex offenders and people who've beat their wives up, why can't we put them in a secure Holiday Inn.
And also, why can't we start by getting rid of the 10,500 prisoners who are in our system who are actually foreign prisoners?
Who were there under the Tories as well.
Shouldn't, but they should not be there. Surely you accept that, Matthew?
And so what did the government do about getting rid of 10,500 prisoners? It's easy to say. It's talk, Anna. It's not action, and the Tories couldn't do it because
accepting.
Okay, so if a country won't take them back, how do you send them back?
That is.
Answer the question, Anna. If a country won't take them back, how do you send them back?
That is where Rwanda came in, which
it wasn't for prisoners. It was for really. No, sorry, Rwanda was for prisoners. It wasn't. It was for migrants.
That is where that sort of offshore.
Anna, you won't answer the question because you haven't got an answer. All you can do is criticise.
You're not listening.
Yeah. I am listening perfectly. You're not making sense. You're saying that they were going to send prisoners back to Rwanda. That was never the Tory policy. That's simply not true.
You're asking me for a solution, and I'm.
So you want Rwanda for prisoners as well, at £500,000 a pop?
We have to have deportation camps somewhere for people who
So can I just check? So you think that we should have deportation camps for prisoners in Rwanda, which was the most expensive thing? It was going to cost a lot more, even than building a prison cell.
They have to be put somewhere.
We just need to find a new Australia, really, don't we?
I'm partly Australian, Christian. I'm offended.
No, but final points on this. Christian, I'll come to you. Do you think that Labour take this as seriously as they should be doing? Purely because if I was a Prisons Minister or Justice Secretary, and I was thinking, gosh, right, I'm about to stand up there and release rapists and wife beaters and all that stuff. I was thinking, if any one of them did anything when they'd been released early, that's kind of on me. And I just don't get the sense that they're taking it with that level of urgency.
Well, let's bear in mind that one of the early release prisoners has already killed someone. Right. We know that. This 28-day limit is pathetic. And no, I really don't. I think if Labour were being serious, this would be, a sort of top 5 issue. And the fact we only ever hear from Shabana Mahmood when she's letting more prisoners out suggests, I think...
or building more prisons.
I suggest they're not taking it seriously.
All right, guys. Well, I think it's fair to say it's been a lively start. So there we go. Thanks very much. Just checking on you. Are you feeling all right there, Christine, in the middle of that?
You lost control of the panel like Labour's lost control of it.
Oh! Definitely on me. All right, OK. Now, a government source has said that the recall measure excludes all offenders serving sentences over 4 years. It includes further exclusions for those who are considered higher risk, who are managed in the community by multiple agencies. This includes many sexual offenders and domestic abusers. So many, but not all, are excluded. It depends on the risk they pose. And a prison service spokesman said, "We're urgently working with the police to recapture this prisoner. Absconds are rare, but those who break the rules face tough consequences, including being moved to tougher conditions and extra jail time." Lancashire Police were also unable to provide an update on Riley's whereabouts, but obviously, because if they knew where he was, then we'd have got him. But anyway, OK, time for our current giveaway. It's the biggest today, with your chance to win a motorhome worth £67,000, £5,000 in tax-free cash. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
Great Britain is ready for you to explore this summer, and there's still plenty of time to grab this fabulous family motorhome. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, the Elnag Baron 560 comfortably sleeps 4, has integrated bathroom and kitchen spaces, and plenty of storage for all of the things you need to bring along on your next adventure. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that anywhere you visit in your brand new motorhome is done in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Loads coming your way. Coming up, trans toddlers will be given NHS treatment, after eligibility rules were watered down. So, has the NHS caved into trans activists? More on that. But firstly, this man cannot be stopped.
Audiences didn't know something quite fundamental about the child, which is that he was the son of a Hamas official. Isn't that a problem? I don't think so, no.
So Gary Lineker has done another interview, and in that he's claimed that trans people are the most persecuted in the whole wide world and that Bond villains are running America. And that's all before he got onto his favourite subject, obviously Palestine. So is this actually the true face of the BBC? That's next.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Christys Tonight. Now, very shortly, I'm going to be talking to you about the fact that French authorities appear to have today shut down one of those illegal migrant camps that we reported from on Tuesday. So maybe we've done more to smash the gangs than the Labour government. But we're going to be talking now about Gary Lineker. Has he revealed the true face of the BBC? It's time for that head-to-head. So, fresh from having to apologise for an anti-Semitic social media post yesterday, Gary Lineker has given an astonishing interview to the Daily Telegraph, in which he claimed that trans people are, quote, some of the most persecuted on the planet. Asked about trans athletes competing in women's sport, the Match of the Day presenter said, "You've got to be very careful not to have bigoted views on that. I genuinely feel really badly for trans people. Imagine going through what they have to go through in life. Is there even any issue? It's the same swimmer, the same weightlifter, the same boxer. They're the only people I ever see." OK. And it gets worse. He was predictably outspoken on his favourite subject, the old Gaza issue, claiming, yes, Israelis have a right to defend themselves, but it appears that Palestinians don't, and that is where it's wrong. Palestinians are caged in this outdoor prison in Gaza, and now it's an outdoor prison that they're bombing. Israel says it's self-defence, but really, self-defence against what now? Do you think Gary Lineker could maybe go there and have a look at... Because who else is doing the blocking in? Some of the Arab countries, isn't it? But anyway, a totally unrepentant Gary Lineker went on, I don't really care about the backlash. I care about doing the right thing, or what I think is the right thing. Some people can disagree, that's fine. But I have to look myself in the mirror. I bet he does a lot of that. I think if you're silent on these issues, you're almost complicit. So look, tonight, what I'm asking, in light of the fact that now Gary Lineker is coming to the end of his time at the BBC, the likes of Emily Maitlis, the likes of John Sopel, they then leave, Andrew Marr, they leave, and then shock horror, get ready for the revelation. It turns out we are so left-wing and we all have views like this. I'm asking, is this really the true face of the BBC? Going head-to-head on this now, our former BBC presenter Roger Bolton and the journalist and broadcaster Angela Epstein. Thank you very, very much. Angela, is this what we're looking at here now? The reason why they haven't sacked Gary Lineker for continually saying stuff like this is because everyone at the BBC just agrees with it.
It's hard to think of any other alternative answer other than the fact that they're cowards. He is their highest paid presenter. They've let an egregious shopping list of awful things that he's done already, and the content that he's shared that plays to an anti-Semitic narrative go by the wayside. You see, Lineker is a classic example of where ignorance meets influence. He's got a massive platform. He's inextricably linked with the BBC because he's their highest paid presenter. The BBC and their charter are committed to impartiality in their output. And the fact that repeatedly, again and again and again, he has nothing more than he really shouldn't do that, or he can issue some grovelling apology and then he carries on as normal, suggests that either the BBC can't or won't do it. And either way, the optics are exactly the same. This is our national broadcaster. Okay. We are stakeholders. We pay for it. And this is what they're doing. And these views are so antithetical to what I feel. How can he possibly be the BBC? But he is, because he's still there. You know, they haven't.
Well, this is it. So I'll bring Roger in here now. Roger, you know, Gary Lineker has made a conscious attempt in the last few weeks to be even more political than he's ever been before, and to do even more interviews than he's ever done before on issues like this. Why are they letting him go on his own terms?
Well, they're not letting him go on his own terms. It was the BBC who decided eventually that he had to stand down as the Match of the Day presenter, which he will do in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. I don't want to defend what he said, although I think you're slightly misrepresenting what he said. For example, on Gaza, he said the real heroes were Israelis who protested against the behaviour of the Israeli government and army in Gaza. By the way, he couldn't get into Gaza because independent journalists aren't allowed into Gaza.
No, but he could go into Egypt, couldn't he, and have a look at it from the other side.
He could, and I hope he does. Now, the point is that it's one thing to criticise him for expressing his views. It's another to say that that's the true face of the BBC. It clearly isn't. There's a problem here, isn't there, between, on the one hand, if you're fully employed by the BBC, on BBC staff, on news and current affairs, you should not express any opinion, and you don't. Then the problem is that, you know, if you're just appearing on the BBC as a freelance interviewer, of course you can't stop talking about what you want to talk about just because you're an occasional person. Lineker is a problem in the middle, not on the staff, very highly paid.
But Roger, it's not just Gary Lineker. I'm sorry, it's not. You know, everyone who leaves the BBC ends up doing this big reveal, which is, you're not going to believe this, guys. Oh, I've been doing my best to try and keep this inside me for the last 30 years.
And yes, and look
I'm really far left. Everyone's like that. Go on, Angela. What are you saying? Go on, Angela, then Roger.
Look at the data. Forgive me, Roger, but...
We'll go Angela, then Roger. Sorry, guys, I can't hear both of you at the same time. Sorry, we'll go Angela, then Roger, all right?
Thank you. You have to look at the data. There have been legions of Jewish journalists at the BBC who have, and they're there on the ground, who've talked about this considered institutionalised anti-Semitism that's going on within the BBC. We've looked at the lamentable Gaza documentary, and when it turned out that the child that was focused on in the documentary was related to a Hamas official. We've had the Assassin report, a very credible piece of data, which deconstructed the output of the BBC and showed...
Well, you're switching, if I may say.
Against Israel. So the fact is that there is so much empirical evidence. Can I just finish? There's so much empirical evidence there. And yet still, Lineker is there able to do what he wants to. It would be the greatest thing if that he had to leave because he was sacked, because it would forever be a stain on his CV.
No, nobody else could have the kind of views that Gary Lineker has got and say them so publicly and do an interview with The Telegraph and do an interview with Amal Rajin and still keep their job. And you say he's not going on his own terms, Roger, but he is. He's not just quitting for Match of the Day at his own leisure, basically. They're going to let him host the World Cup and the World Cup final. It's the end of the Gary Lineker era. They could just say, you know what, Gal, thanks for the memories, off you pop.
Oh, well, hold on a second. I thought it was head-to-head. This is 2-1, and you won't let me get a word in edgeways. The claim that you're making is that Lineker is representative of the BBC and that his views are representative of the BBC, and I'm saying they aren't. I'm saying they're representative of Gary Lineker. I disagree with a lot of them, and it's good that he's leaving because he should, because I think he has overstepped the mark. But there is an issue of free speech here you've got to be careful about. Now, specifically on Gaza and the point you make, the Assassin report was written by somebody who's a campaigner on behalf of the Israeli government. Fair enough.
Nonsense.
He's a propagandist. There's a propaganda war going on.
That's
and there are
the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard.
The BBC is biased, and the BBC has to put a course between the two, which it doesn't use in current affairs. I don't think Gary Lineker should have said what he did. I think it's right that he leaves.
But you don't think, Roger, that Gary Lineker feels very comfortable saying what he says? Because actually, I mean, look at him. Yesterday, he tweeted out an anti-Semitic rat emoji thing. So if you didn't know what that is, then he's obviously an idiot. And if you're an idiot, you shouldn't be wading into these kind of issues. In fact, there is. So this is it. But do you not think he feels comfortable, Roger, saying this kind of stuff because he knows that people that surround him at the BBC all feel that way, because he knows that people who live near him and the kind of dinner party circuit that he's at all feel that way?
No, hold on a second. If you look, who would just tell me, if you look at the people who move to become spokesmen for Conservative prime ministers, the head of their press and so on, they come from the BBC. Robbie
and the Conservative Party's got a kick in for being too left-wing, haven't they?
No, hold on. But your claim, therefore, that there are only left-wing people in the BBC or only people who sympathise, that's not true. There are a significant number in the BBC, a lot of Jewish employees who are unhappy with the BBC coverage, but equally there are a lot of Jews who I've talked to, numerous talked to, who make the distinction between being highly critical. Hold on, let me finish. Between highly critical of the Netanyahu government and they're really critical of that, and what is happening with Hamas. Hamas is a disgrace. Okay. Hamas is disgusting. Hamas has done terrible things. But you have to. It's legitimate to raise.
All right, guys. We're going to have to move on. We're going to have to move on. Thank you very much. And Andrew, sorry, your connection. Unfortunately, you keep dropping in and out. I'm afraid, Andrew. So we're going to have to move on. So very sorry, but thank you very much. I know there was more you wanted to say on that. Thank you. Right. Okay. Zaphod on Your Say says Gary Lineker only shows how clueless he is with those statements. Roy says Gary Lineker is not well informed and should do some research. Tim says the BBC are weak. They should just boot him out now. He's a waste of space. So not huge, difference of shades of grey there in that inbox. But coming up,
I would love reconciliation with my family.
You won't believe what's happened now. Harry and Meghan have bonded with Brooklyn Beckham and his wife over their, quote, shared trauma. But I've got the inside story on this, and it's going to blow your socks off. Before that, though, trans toddlers will be given NHS treatment after eligibility rules were watered down. Has the NHS caved in? But I think this is really the centrepiece at 10. I was in that camp on Tuesday, and the French now, miraculously, have shut it down. I think GBNews has shuttered more migrant camps than the Prime Minister.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst widespread sunny skies return to the UK, rain clears Italy but pushes into Greece, where it will become increasingly windy by Friday. Fairly breezy for the Canaries, but it's mostly fine here with partly cloudy skies across Spain, Portugal into Gibraltar. 1 or 2 showers, otherwise plenty of sunshine. But for Italy, it's been very unsettled here, particularly in the south. We do have the rain and the wind pushing now into Greece, where it will be unsettled for a few days before turning brighter later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, high pressure remains dominating our weather, which means lots of dry, settled weather, lots more sunshine to come, though it's eastern areas where it can often be cloudy and a lot cooler, and it's all thanks to high pressure sitting to the north of the country, dragging in a northeasterly flow, so more of a breeze here and much more cloud too. And we'll see that pattern as we head through this evening and overnight. More cloud clipping into southern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England, and then towards dawn across central and southern parts. This cloud quite low at times, possibly even bringing some mist and fog, but many areas should remain dry, rather clear, but that does mean temperatures are going to slip away, particularly across Scotland, perhaps even some rural frost by the time we reach the early hours of the morning. So to start, it could be a little bit chilly, perhaps some low cloud across the very far northeast of the country, perhaps eastern parts of Aberdeenshire, but otherwise largely dry, clear and similar across Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, though once again low cloud creeping into eastern counties. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a fairly bright start once again, still a little bit chilly, but warming up nicely through the course of the day. Once again, particularly western areas feeling very warm in wall-to-wall sunshine, but across eastern areas still that low cloud set to linger, still a decent breeze here too, so often feeling chillier with cloudier skies, but otherwise lots of warm sunshine, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the south. Then as we head into Saturday, the beginning of the weekend, likely a bit more cloud to start the morning, some mist and fog in places, but once again, eventually through the morning, we'll see it clear through, and by the afternoon, wall-to-wall blue skies, plenty of sunshine, but still a chance we could see that low cloud lingering across eastern areas, and it remains fairly similar as we turn into Sunday and Monday, with temperatures widely in the low 20s.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. So coming up, you're not going to believe, really, what Harry and Meghan have done. They've hit a new low, I think. But first, the NHS has been slammed after it emerged that doctors are treating toddlers who think they're trans. The Health Service was preparing to introduce a minimum age of 7 for children to be treated at specialist gender clinics. But after the plans were sent out for consultation, that limit was removed. So basically, it got worse, right? According to the latest data, up to 10 toddlers are being treated, while as many as 157 children aged 9 or younger have been referred to the clinics. But I thought we'd stop this. I thought we'd turned a new leaf and we were going to row back on all of this kind of nonsense. But the children are not given puberty blockers. They are simply offered counselling and therapy instead. A source close to the consultation told The Telegraph that NHS England had, quote, caved to the pressure of trans activists to remove the limits. Well, I'm joined now by the founder and director of Transgender Trend, is Stephanie Davis-Arai. Thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. Are they just facilitating child abuse, do you think?
Well, it does seem ridiculous, doesn't it, that little children are being sent to gender clinics. But in fact, you know, there are a lot of problems here with this. But in fact, I'm not, you know, the age limit doesn't bother me that much. If we had the age limit of 7, are we saying that 7-year-olds are transgender? It's still ridiculous. With the case of the little children, the Cass review was produced over a year ago, and one of the recommendations was that children were referred as early as possible, and that's because parents are getting really bad advice from lobby groups and from everywhere, saying that they should be affirming their children and socially transitioning them. So I think Cass's idea was get those parents referred quickly so that they can get sensible advice from the NHS, from the new gender hubs. And so I think it's been slightly painted as misleadingly that actually, in reality, the situation is now that parents of very young children are being encouraged to think that they're transgender and they're worried about
do you not think there's a problem with the parents here, Stephanie? I've thought this quite often, and I won't name who these people are, but there are some very high-profile individuals out there who have multiple trans children, and I wonder, actually, if it's all about the parents. They feel as though it makes them more interesting.
Well, you know what? There are some very, real trans activist parents. That's certainly true. But I also think that there are a lot of parents who don't know as much about this subject as I do. And they really are worried by all the stories, all the misinformation they get from lobby groups, which is affirm your child, otherwise they're more likely to take their own lives. That is emotional blackmail. That will terrify parents. Yeah. And so I have some sympathy with parents because of all the misinformation they're constantly bombarded with, and their children. One of the things, if we want to cut down the waiting list, is we have to tackle education. These kids are being taught that they may have been born in the wrong body in nursery school now. So, the kids are actually thinking they can choose their sex. And so it's not going to stop until we deal with education as well.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you that I think there is institutional indoctrination going on here on multiple different fronts, by the way, not just in the political sphere, but also in the gender sphere as well. What I'm keen to get down to on this, though, some of the hospitals that are doing this supposedly are Great Ormond Street, Alder Hey. There's also University Hospitals, Bristol. But certainly Alder Hey and Great Ormond Street, I think, are two of the most famous children's hospitals in the UK. There's people that do a huge amount of fundraising for those hospitals, and rightly so, great causes. But I just wonder whether or not they realise that actually so many people don't think that toddlers should be being spoken to about this stuff. And things like their fundraising and their charitable activities might be reduced if people realise that Great Ormond Street and Alder Hey Children's Hospital are facilitating what many people might regard as the indoctrination of toddlers about whether they've been born into the wrong body.
Yeah. Well, I think people need to be reassured that at the new gender hubs, they're supposed to be following Cass recommendations, which is not to. I mean, Cass very firmly in her review rejected the gender affirmative approach, which is where you tell her, if a little boy says I'm a girl, you agree that he's a girl. And, treat him as a girl and get everyone else to also treat him as a girl. So Cass has firmly rejected that approach. And the Cass approach is holistic. It looks at, because we used to know this, what's behind a child who says that they're the opposite sex. We used to understand that might mean past sexual abuse. It might mean something to do with family dynamics. It might be a totally normal stage of childhood. It might be a child just believing they're the opposite sex because everybody thinks they are because they play with the wrong toys. There could be any number of reasons why a child thinks they're the opposite sex, from quite serious to completely normal. And that's what the new gender hubs will be looking at. They might do a bit of family therapy. They might help, or they might just be giving advice to parents like, let it ride, let them play with what they want. It's normal.
Well, that's it. That's it. And I think there has to be a lot said here about this. If parents are taking their kids to these hubs because they are worried that, Timmy is playing with a Barbie doll or something like that, well, where's that come from? Why are parents here? Just let it ride. See what happens. Anyway, thank you very, very much. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. That's Stephanie Davies right there, who is the founder and director of Transgender Trend. An NHS spokesman said it had nothing to do with pressure from trans activists, and the primary objective for the service for children under the age of 7 is to provide support and guidance to the parents, carers, rather than initiate anything into the child themselves. They also go on to say that the appropriateness of a referral of a child under 7 will be first agreed by paediatric or mental health specialists and the new Children and Young People's Gender Services through pre-referral consultation. Bit of a mouthful. Anyway, coming up at 10 p.m, do you remember this? That is a row of French police lining the street outside a migrant camp that I exposed yesterday. Is that all it takes to stop the boats? But before that,
I would love reconciliation with my family.
Prince Harry has plumbed new debts. Stay tuned. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, part of a Soviet-era spacecraft stranded in orbit for more than 50 years will crash back to Earth today.
Yes, Cosmos 482 launched in 1972 on a mission to Venus, but it failed to escape Earth's orbit and broke into 4 pieces.
Well, now experts are closely monitoring its re-entry, but where it will land remains a mystery.
It was due to land in, what is it, about 40 minutes now?
Yeah,
not long to go
like.
till we find out. Well, earlier we spoke to space expert Andy Land. He told us what makes this spacecraft different to the others we've seen previously.
Currently, it's over the South Pacific, so it's heading towards South America. The odds are really unlikely. The chances are it's going to crash into the ocean, to be quite honest. Other parts of this fell into the Pacific Ocean, although in the early days when it got into the wrong orbit, of course, the lower sections of it actually crashed into New Zealand and landed in a field. But no, I think you got more chance of being struck by lightning or winning the lottery than actually being hit by a piece of this material. The only interesting thing about this mission, of course, it is a Venus atmospheric entry probe, which means it's designed to survive entry through a dense atmosphere. And in particular case, Venus's atmosphere is more dense than the Earth's atmosphere. It's designed to withstand fantastic temperatures, absolutely fantastic temperatures, huge pressures. So this piece will hit the ground or hit into the ocean. That's what makes this a very different creature from previous satellites which have broken up, which normally they just break up into pieces. This is designed to actually come back. And in case people think, well, wouldn't the parachute system operate? It's unlikely the parachute system is operating at all after half a century. So it's going to be a ballistic drop.
GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, only on GB News. Coming up, I genuinely think I've shut down a migrant camp, so we'll talk about that. But first, Harry and Meghan have reportedly bonded with Brooklyn Beckham and his wife over their, quote, shared trauma of toxic family feuds. The oldest son of Victoria and David Beckham is apparently embroiled in a family row with his parents because of his wife. It resulted in Brooklyn skipping his dad's 50th birthday celebrations earlier this month. The couples apparently enjoyed dinner together at Harry and Meghan's Montecito mansion, with the source telling The Sun that Meghan and Brooklyn's wife, Nicola, share a bond after being accused by critics of being home wreckers? Well, I'm joined now by the royal and showbiz journalist Sarah Louise Robertson. Thank you very much. Now, Sarah, you've got some inside info on all of this. Why you think that there is a bit of a war going on here? What's going on? What's going on for you?
Story is showbiz manna from heaven, Patrick. It's got everything that I love about story. The glamours, the royals, California, Beverly Hills, all of it. It's brilliant. So what we've got here is, we know, well, we've seen it splashed all over the media for the last few weeks. Brooklyn missed his dad, David Beckham's 50th birthday. There's been this reported fallout between Brooklyn and his wife, Nicola Peltz, whose father's an American billionaire, between him, Nicola, and his parents, David and Victoria Beckham. So there's been a cooling of their relationship. Brooklyn is living in LA now with his wife, Nicola. What happened this month is they had dinner with Harry and Meghan, the Sussexes, who are also estranged from their family. So you can see they've got something in common. These two couples, a lot in common, shall we say. Both from massive families, huge families in the world public eye, and both are estranged from them. Now, a lot of people have attributed or levelled blame for these estrangements at these men's wives. So in Harry's case, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. In Brooklyn's case, Nicola Peltz. So this is what's going on. Anyway, they have had this dinner together and they apparently have found common ground, and it was leaked to People magazine, which is the American magazine that the celebrities seem to go to when they want stories to be confirmed or they want their own take on things coming out. What has been said is that Brooklyn and Nicola found Harry and Meghan very welcoming when they went to their Montecito mansion, and they found that they had empathy. They received empathy from them because Meghan and Harry understand the situation that they're going through, how it feels to be, shall we say, blamed in their eyes unfairly for a separation or some sort of problem in the family.
Do you think there's something else to it as well, that David Beckham is closer to the king? Is that right?
He is. Now, David, again, wants to have his knighthood, but he is a massive royalist. We saw David Beckham queued up to go and see the Queen's lying in state. Yeah. So he did that. So we know he's naturally a huge, huge royalist. But, yeah, OK, he probably does want his knighthood. But the other thing as well is that David and Victoria, their relationship with the royals has always been with the Waleses, with Prince William and Princess Catherine. So that's
because they're going to be actually in line to the throne.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is where their relationship has always been. So we've seen, for example, just this week, Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, sent what I would call symbolic, a sign of support, shall we say, to Victoria Beckham. She's doing what the late Queen used to. The late Queen was known for using her fashion to send subliminal signals, send a message, in a way that she couldn't because she wasn't allowed to be political. And this is what the Princess of Wales is doing. So she wore a suit by Victoria Beckham this week. Now, it just so happens Princess Catherine wears that suit in public. Now we hear it's leaked. Not saying who it's leaked by, but it's leaked. I mean, I couldn't possibly say it could be leaked by Meghan Markle. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I couldn't say that, Patrick.
Of course, and
but
you
it was leaked.
Wouldn't dare.
I wouldn't dare say that. No. But it was leaked. I didn't say that. No. It was leaked to the media that Nicola and Brooklyn Beckham were at the house in Montecito having dinner.
I thought there's something that Brooklyn Beckham and Prince Harry both have in common, OK? And we can show you a picture, I believe, from Brooklyn Beckham's attempt at being a photographer. There he is, right. He went and took a picture of an elephant in the shadow, and he published that picture. Can you imagine that? You are wherever he is there, the Sahara Desert, and you managed to come back with that picture of an elephant and you published it. And I thought, gosh, aren't we looking at two men here, both with very little talent? They're born into immense privilege, the Brooklyn Beckham and Prince Harry. Are we looking at two blokes here who really could get on quite well?
Yes, well, they have obviously found common ground. They're both married to very bossy, controlling wives, it seems, allegedly. And neither of them really have anything to boast of themselves, do they? They can say, I'm great at this or I'm great at that. I mean, Brooklyn's trying his cookery course. He's got this YouTube cookery channel, a bit like Meghan, who's also a food creator.
There he is. He's making a baked
There he
sandwich.
is. It's like Meghan sprinkling flowers. I mean, he hasn't quite gone to that level, but that could happen. He's also brought out his own hot sauce, which is a bit like the Levi Roots one, but I haven't tasted it, so I don't know. I do have...
Sorry, but that just looks like...
Do you know what it is, though? Do you know what it is? I mean, I have met Brooklyn Beckham before. Actually, he is a sweet, well-mannered boy.
But it's just, come on, man. Like,
but it's a bit... He has become a bit of this joke figure, a bit like Prince Harry. They've become a bit of these jokes, haven't they?
All right.
It's a shame.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much. Sarah Louise Robertson there. Well, when we come back, as you know, I was visiting the migrant camps in northern France earlier this week. It looks as though the French have just shut one down. I think we did that. Stay tuned.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, high pressure remains dominating our weather, which means lots of dry, settled weather, lots more sunshine to come, though it's eastern areas where it can often be cloudy and a lot cooler, and it's all thanks to high pressure sitting to the north of the country, dragging in a northeasterly flow, so more of a breeze here and much more cloud too. And we'll see that pattern as we head through this evening and overnight. More cloud clipping into southern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England, and then towards dawn across central and southern parts. This cloud quite low at times, possibly even bringing some mist and fog, but many areas should remain dry, rather clear, but that does mean temperatures are going to slip away, particularly across Scotland, perhaps even some rural frost by the time we reach the early hours of the morning. So to start, it could be a little bit chilly, perhaps some low cloud across the very far northeast of the country, perhaps eastern parts of Aberdeenshire, but otherwise largely dry, clear and similar across Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, though once again low cloud creeping into eastern counties. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a fairly bright start once again, still a little bit chilly, but warming up nicely through the course of the day. Once again, particularly western areas feeling very warm in wall-to-wall sunshine, but across eastern areas, still that low cloud set to linger, still a decent breeze here too, so often feeling chillier with cloudier skies, but otherwise lots of warm sunshine, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the south. Then as we head into Saturday, the beginning of the weekend, likely a bit more cloud to start the morning, some mist and fog in places, but once again, eventually through the morning, we'll see it clear through, and by the afternoon, wall-to-wall blue skies, plenty of sunshine, but still a chance we could see that low cloud lingering across eastern areas, and it remains fairly similar as we turn into Sunday and Monday, with temperatures widely in the low 20s.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness. That's wonderful. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GBNews.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. Well, after I visited that migrant camp, the French police seem to have shut it down. GB News may have now closed more migrant camps than the Prime Minister.
The land scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent, and I'm not prepared to continue with gimmicks that don't act as a deterrent.
Sir Keir Starmer couldn't wait to scrap the Rwanda plan, but then today...
What now we want to do, and we're having discussions on, talks on, is return hubs, which is where someone's been through the system in the UK, they need to be returned.
Sounds a lot like Rwanda, doesn't it, Plus?
I would love reconciliation with my family.
Well, bonkers story where Harry and Meghan have bonded with Brooklyn Beckham and his wife because of their shared toxic family trauma. Plus, the wife of a Tory councillor who was jailed for an online rant about Southport murders. She is, of course, Lucy Connolly. Well, she was in court today appealing against her sentence. I'm going to give you the inside track on what went on in that courtroom. On my panel tonight, we've got former Tory MP Anna Firth, Daily Express senior political correspondent Christian Cowgate, and ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Oh, and what on earth's happening here? Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Well, breaking tonight, GB News has done more to smash the gangs than Keir Starmer. Next.
Good evening. It's 2 minutes past 10. Here are your latest GB News headlines. A man has been charged with a series of arson attacks at properties linked to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. 21-year-old Roman Lovranovich, a Ukrainian national, has been charged with 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. Lovranovich was arrested in the early hours of the 13th of May and has remained in custody after warrants of further detentions were obtained. The Prime Minister says the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although they will not include Albania. Sir Keir Starmer is in the country for talks with the Albanian PM to agree separate measures to crack down on organised crime and illegal migration. The PM is looking to collaborate with other European countries to fulfil his pledge to stop the boats. GB News has learned that the Home Office is spending tens of thousands of pounds on entertainment for migrants at a Kent processing facility. The results of a Freedom of Information request show that more than £60,000 has gone on TVs with satellite channels, gaming systems and other entertainment at the Manston Processing Centre. A Home Office spokesperson has told GB News the majority of the expenditure occurred under the previous government. It was based on the TV monitors which provide information and instructions for those at Manston. This new government is reviewing this spend. The Chancellor has welcomed new features that show the economy has grown more than expected in the first 3 months of the year. She's been meeting workers and giving an address at the Rolls-Royce factory in Derby this morning, as new figures show GDP increased by 0.7% between January and March, slightly stronger than economic forecasts. The Chancellor says it proves the government is moving in the right direction, but accepts there's much more to do. And finally, R&B singer Chris Brown has been arrested in Manchester over an alleged bottle attack at a London nightclub 2 years ago. The American musician was arrested at a hotel in the city in the early hours of this morning by detectives from the Metropolitan Police. He is being held on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm at a nightclub in Mayfair back in February of 2023. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. There's more from me in an hour's time.
Welcome back. So, I have smashed more gangs than Keir Starmer's Labour government. On Tuesday, I exposed how thousands of people are queuing up to get to Britain. Let's try and see if we can have a look here at what the situation is. Some kind of makeshift sanitation centre there. Stalls, water everywhere. Now, they get all of this from the supermarket, which is just a little bit over a motorway there. And we've seen people, witnessed people going in, stealing the water, in some cases stealing beer actually, and then dodging a police dog on the way out. We've got a barbecue going on here, which I must say does actually smell quite nice. Hello, can I look at this? No? OK, but anyway, there's a barbecue here which looks quite nice. Take a close look at what you see in this video. You'll notice it's mostly men, isn't it? It's mostly men. And a variety of different people here from different parts of the world. We've spoken to people from Sudan, from Eritrea, from Afghanistan. Hello, there's a big Red Cross, I think it is anyway, yeah, Red Cross Française. So there's a medical tent here where they can get their medical supplies. There's other bits and bobs going on over here. So there we go, right, look at that yellow bin with the letters PKK graffitied on the front of it. Well, just moments ago on social media, apparently it appears that someone living in that camp has put these videos out. Well, and police seem to be raiding that migrant camp, and... Same yellow bin. There we go. So 2 days ago, we went viral for exposing the reality of the invasion of Britain from France. We spent quite a bit of time in that very migrant camp, raising serious questions about where £1 billion worth of your taxpayers' money is going. And then today, bingo, the French police raid that camp. Do you think that's a coincidence? This is why it's important to go to these places and actually expose what's going on. We have disrupted the small boat crisis more in one day than Keir Starmer has in nearly a year. But the Prime Minister was actually utterly humiliated again today. Remember when he proudly did this?
The Rwanda scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent. Everybody has worked out, particularly the gangs that run this, that the chance of ever going to Rwanda was so slim, less than 1%, that it was never a deterrent.
He scrapped Rwanda on day one. Well, what's happened since? So, some hugely embarrassing breaking news for the Prime Minister this evening. Our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, has just phoned in and he's told us we can now reveal around 600 small boat migrants arrived in the UK today alone. Now, I just want everyone at home to understand that every single person in this room is absolutely desperate to come to Britain. Huge numbers crossing the Channel. Half of Sudan is in a warehouse near a lorry park waiting to break into Britain. And Starmer's getting hammered in the polls. So today, he did this.
What now we want to do, and we're having discussions on, talks on, is return hubs, which is where someone's been through the system in the UK, they need to be returned, and we have to make sure they're returned effectively, and we'll do that if we can through return hubs. So that's what the talk's about.
There he is, our Prime Minister in Albania, talking of return hubs. The briefing was that Albania was one of his preferred destinations. So step forward, the Albanian leader.
The model that we've brought to Albania in cooperation with Italy, this is something that I've said from the outset. It is a model that takes its time to be tested. And if it works, it can be replicated, but not in Albania.
He's not going to do it. The Prime Minister has gone there asking for these return hubs, and the Albanians have said no. Chris Phelps, the Shadow Home Secretary, said this trip is an embarrassment. Starmer jetted off, and now the Albanian Prime Minister has made clear that there will be no UK return hubs in Albania. So what was the point of that entire visit? Look, no plan, no vision, no conviction. If you really want to stop the boats, Prime Minister, why not just put GB News in charge of the job? So thoughts of my panel. We've got former Tory MP Anna Firth. We've also got senior political correspondent at the Daily Express, Christian Calgie, and ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larzer. Anna, I'll start with you. So, firstly, it does appear that the French have now smashed a migrant encampment that I was at a couple of days ago. So maybe we should station ourselves there permanently.
Well, Patrick, obviously you've achieved great things. You've achieved things that Keir Starmer.
Sorry, I wasn't actually here just to desperately try to get a load of praise.
But the point here, Patrick, is what an embarrassment that conference was over in Albania. I mean, it's the juxtaposition. It was little, wasn't it? Little Starmer and large Albanian Prime Minister. I mean, he must have gone out there expecting he was going to get some. Why else? Why else did he go to Albania? And instead he's humiliated himself and he's humiliated the British people in the process. And he's realised, he's now realised that governing is actually a hell of a lot more difficult than being in opposition.
I think Starmer's shattered socialism for decades in this country because the second he's come into office, he started behaving exactly like the Tories. He's developed a Tory ideology.
Except with one thing, the Rwanda plan, which of course we know it cost a fortune, and it didn't get off the ground.
More Home Secretaries went, didn't they, Anna?
Yes, we know all of that, Matthew.
Didn't manage to tell anybody.
Many times before. But the point here is it was having a deterrent effect, and this thing, this return hub, it's Rwanda-like. It's not going to work.
No, it's not.
The reason it's not going to work is because 70% of people get granted asylum in this country.
Fine. Christine, what do you think about this? Because it does look, to the untrained observer, it would look a lot like a bloke, joyously scrapped Rwanda on day one, and is now thinking, I really wish I had something like Rwanda.
Yes, well, yeah, I think it's a good point, and what I think today's announcement has sort of proved is Starmer's admitting that his current policy doesn't have anywhere near enough of a deterrent, and he needs to do something. Now, this is slightly different to Rwanda. The idea isn't necessarily that they'd be moved to these countries, but the EU is pursuing something very similar. Ursula von der Leyen is also pursuing the idea of offshoring hubs, maybe in Egypt, as part of a deterrent. It's a less strong deterrent than Rwanda or an alternative, but it's certainly there. And it does prompt questions about whether Keir Starmer remotely knew what he was getting into. I don't for a second doubt that Keir Starmer, with his, King's Council judicial wig on, thought that he could, really bash some heads together in the civil service and, with a bit of extra manpower and get all these migrants processed. But the reality, his eyes were not open to the scale of the challenge. And all those men that you filmed culturally enriching the north of France, soon to culturally enrich Britain, that camp has been shut down, and I'm sure it's a great relief to the local supermarché. But they'll just pop up somewhere else. It's like trying to play whack-a-mole. And if we're talking about deterrence, one of the biggest deterrents, if you think all of these people are economic migrants, right? None of them are refugees because they're in a safe country. The only reason they want to come to Britain are the benefits, the welfare. If we wanted to provide a deterrent that was sort of legal within the ECHR, we'd just ban any illegal migrant from ever claiming any welfare.
All right, Matthew. So look,
they can't claim
a lot of the election was, as you well know, all about smashing the gangs and this, that and the other. Now, that has clearly not happened. The problem, as it currently stands, is worse than it was a year or so ago, just in terms of raw numbers. Now here we are, nearly a year into his premiership, and he's talking about return hubs. He's making it up as he goes along, isn't he?
No, because you heard it here first. I've talked about this, that they were going to announce this for months on this very sofa. Yes, absolutely. I've said that there was going to be offshore processing, and which is exactly what this is. Okay. And I've said that the reason why Rwanda wouldn't work, and let's remind ourselves of the huge cost of Rwanda, 541 million for 300 people, 1.8 million per migrant. The key difference... Let me just... Anna, please let me finish.
A lot last time, Matthew. So maybe you'll just accept one interruption.
Well, I don't think I'm going to have a choice.
Rwanda was... No, you actually don't. Rwanda was actually showing signs of...
No, it wasn't.
Even before the planes were supposed to...
Absolutely no evidence for that, Anna, so that's not a fact. So to go back to what I was saying, the huge cost of Rwanda, there's a big difference. Let's just look at the practicalities of this. This is not shipping people out to a foreign country and processing them under foreign law. This is people would be processed in the UK, and then when they have failed, they would be sent to a returns hub from whence they could go back to... The idea would be going back to a third country. Well, we can't... Some countries won't take them back, and some countries... and also, whilst they're waiting, they're in hotels, so you can't have it both ways. And one other thing is, Christian, you said that people come here so they can claim benefits. The real reason, if you speak to all those migrants in the camps that want to come here, is because we don't have ID cards. And who blocked ID cards when the last Labour government tried to introduce them? Oh, yes, it'd be those Tories, wouldn't it?
I don't think the migrants in those camps were saying they want to come to Britain because they don't have ID cards.
No, they want to come to Britain to work, and you can work in the black economy because we don't have ID cards.
An interview with Patrick, you could barely speak 2 words of English, and they weren't ID cards.
No, because he wants to come to work, and you can work if you don't have an ID card. Everybody in France and Germany will tell you that the reason that Britain is seen as a soft touch is because we don't have ID cards. The government hasn't said it will introduce them. It should. And, of course, Blair tried to introduce them, and the Tories, including people like David Davis, shot them down on insane grounds.
Matthew, do you accept that the only way a deterrent works is if people actually think there is a chance that I won't end up in Britain, I might end up in the Balkans? And
well, that's what he's just said.
Exactly. But listen, if...
I'm listening. It doesn't make sense, Anna.
No, you're not actually listening. If, in fact, the majority of the people in this country get granted asylum, which they do...
You were a barrister, weren't you, Anna? You know there's an independent judicial system. Keir Starmer doesn't sit in Downing Street going, we'll have this one and not have that one. And you didn't leave the ECHR. Did you vote to leave the ECHR? You were in Parliament. You were in Parliament for 2.5 years. You didn't vote to leave the ECHR. You want to now? You didn't then. You did nothing.
Same as Keir Starmer.
No, I'm not. You're just talk, Anna. It's all talk. Do you admit that your government did nothing?
We've got radio listeners.
What you haven't...
Did you admit your government did nothing?
Unless you answer my question...
Do you want to leave the ECHR? Do you want to leave the ECHR?
I think we are rapidly getting...
So you can't even make your mind up yet. And that's why Calamity Kemi is slipping to fourth in the polls behind the Lib Dems. Good luck, Anna. There's no point finding a seat. There won't be any seats to have.
I'm going to sue GB News for tinnitus on this show.
OK, all right, fine.
Sorry to the viewers
let me just, before we round off this segment, I would like to make the point. I think going earlier on this week showed a couple of things. So firstly, how the shoe scale of the problem, obviously how many people that there are there. But despite the fact that the French have now lined up with quite a few police cars and shut down a migrant camp, I'll be really honest with you, I saw absolutely no evidence of where a single penny of the £1 billion that British taxpayers have sent to the French has gone.
That the Tories signed up for.
Yeah, fine. But I've seen... Well, she's now continuing.
Yeah, no, and we shouldn't.
Yeah.
We shouldn't. I think it's wrong.
Yeah,
but Anna sat there and voted for it.
Your government is continuing. Yvette Cooper was saying that...
Did you vote against it, Anna, or did you vote for it when you had the chance?
I absolutely...
You voted for it, yes. You voted for it, fact.
The French have... I'm not denying how I voted. I'm not denying how I voted.
The idea of giving France money to help deal with this problem is not in of itself a bad idea. The problem is what they're actually doing with it. And The Express, I think, last year did a report where we sent cameras and they were all, you know, getting hammered in a nightclub whilst boats were actually setting off from the north coast.
It's
so
true.
they're clearly, France is absolutely taking us for a ride, as did, you know, Kigali in Rwanda.
Yeah, well, exactly. You look at the geography of it, that I get it. Look, hey, it's 70-odd miles of coastline, don't get me wrong. It's not the thing that you can just stop every single thing overnight. But goodness gracious me, you could be doing a heck of a lot more than...
Absolutely, and the mickey has been taken.
A fantastic solution would actually be for us to sort of own the North French coastline.
Should we invade?
War with France. Let's do it.
With France, everybody.
Sadly, I'm too old to serve.
Sensible policies for a happier Britain.
Don't get us on the BBC. Right, anyway, it's time now for our Great British giveaway. It's a motorhome worth 67 grand and 5 grand in cash. Stay tuned.
Well done.
Great Britain is ready for you to explore this summer, and there's still plenty of time to grab this fabulous family motorhome. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, the Elnag Baron 560 comfortably sleeps 4, has integrated bathroom and kitchen spaces, and plenty of storage for all of the things you need to bring along on your next adventure. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that anywhere you visit in your brand new motorhome is done in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages with my panel, and there's some breaking news on the front of the Sun. Oh, yes, I've had a look at this. So, an Italian taxi driver has accused our Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, of threatening him in a massive row over a taxi fare. Apparently, this is according to the Sun, David Lammy might have even used some kind of loosely racial slur and left the back of the cab looking like a bomb site. It's got it all, this story. Oh, and in other news, what's going on here? But first, the wife of Tory councillor, and this is Lucy Connolly, she was jailed for an online rant about the Southport murders. She was in court appealing against her sentence today. Is she the victim of two-tier justice? I'll tell you what went on in that courtroom next.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain. We like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana are Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
The royal commentator Sarah Louise Robertson.
Hello, Nana.
Hello, Sarah Louise. Right, talk to me. Let's talk about Prince Harry. He's been knocking on doors. What on earth is that story about?
I found this story extraordinary, Nana. It's amazing to think Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, turned up in Fulham, neighbourhood of London, posh neighbourhood, shall I say.
Yes, of course.
And we're seen wandering aimlessly half a mile up and down a road, knocking on 3 different random people's doors, looking for his friends. He actually said, I'm looking for for a friend. I mean, I felt that was Prince Harry putting a desperate plea out into the world that he needs friends.
But perhaps his friend lived in one of those doors. I mean, if you were knocking on the door of your friend's house...
Clearly, yes. But
You know,
I just think there's something like he was caught on this Ring doorbell camera and he just looked really forlorn and really sad, and it was obviously just after losing his court case and, you know, then pouring his heart out about his dad ignoring him. And there he is, begging for a friend on the street in London.
So
How the tables have turned.
So that wasn't it. So maybe it was an ex-friend's house. The friend clearly doesn't live there, otherwise they wouldn't have sold the doorbell footage to the Sun.
I reckon they just didn't want Prince Harry there.
Oh, do you think maybe they were there?
I reckon they were just hiding behind the door. Just watching him make a fool of himself going up and down the road.
Watching him going, oh, there he goes to another doorbell. Bless his heart.
It made me think of that sketch, though, in that comedy, The In-Betweeners, where they shout, friend, friend.
You are wicked, Sarah Louise.
I know, I'm a
You're
bit
worse
mean,
than
aren't
me.
I do still feel a bit sorry for him, though, because he's obviously in a bit of a sad state of affairs at the moment.
I'm going to say,
things aren't going his way.
You've changed last week since you went viral. Last week you felt sorry for him. Now listen to you laughing at him.
But I still do. There is that little bit of, like, sorry for him, and I do think his dad does need to speak to him. I do. And also, it's in the Constitution that King Charles should speak to him.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. All of tomorrow's newspapers shortly, including an absolutely astonishing story on the front of The Sun with allegations, and they are just allegations that he denies, about David Lammy and an Italian taxi driver. You're not going to want to miss this. But first, a 42-year-old mother jailed for a social media post is attempting to have her sentence reduced in the Court of Appeal. Lucy Connolly was sent to prison for 31 months in October after pleading guilty to a charge of inciting racial hatred. Hours after Axel Rudiger-Barner murdered the 3 little girls in Southport, Connolly took to X to express her outrage. Many were shocked by the length of her prison sentence, and leading politicians, including the likes of Tory leader Kemi Badenoch, Liz Truss, Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, have called for her release. Well, I'm joined now by journalist Candice Holsworth. Thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. So, what kind of things would have been discussed in court today, then, do you think, about Lucy Connolly, hopefully, in her mind anyway, getting out earlier than expected?
Yeah, so I mean, part of her appeal is basically she's saying that she did not fully understand what kind of plea she was entering. So by saying that she was guilty, she was admitting to wanting to incite violence. She said she didn't mean to do that. So that's the one basis upon which she's appealing. But she's also saying that other circumstances need to be taken into account. For instance, her mental health. We know that she lost a child, a son. And part of her PTSD was triggered by what happened to those 3 little girls in Southport, and it's why she did what she did. She doesn't feel that was properly taken into account either, in part in when she was first sentenced for this crime. So these are the 2 legal bases on which she can appeal her sentence, and we'll see what the outcome will be.
So we're due to find out tomorrow, aren't we, I think? Just she was given 31 months. There's also some concern that she's being treated more harshly than she ought to have been while she was in prison as well. Not given certain visitation rights, not allowed for certain home visits, etc. So, yeah, on the balance of probability, do you think there is a decent chance that we might see Lucy Connolly walking free some point soon?
I think so. I think there is a decent chance. I think maybe, tempers are sort of cooled, we're quite far on from the atmosphere that was governing the riots. And I hope that, the law can look dispassionately at this case. And I think much more has emerged about Lucy Connolly since she was sentenced. And I think that the case she's putting forward is a very robust one.
Yeah, and also, as well, if it is the case that she didn't really know exactly what she was pleading guilty to, and that there was an atmosphere at the time many would argue actually really perpetuated by our Prime Minister, to come down hard, to clamp down hard, to lock people up, to put them away for a long time. I wonder if indeed she is successful in this particular appeal, whether or not we're going to see this case repeated right across the country with a lot of other people who are also serving lengthy prison sentences for things like social media posts.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, and I think people have asked that question because, you know, Lucy Connolly, for a tweet, actually got a harsher sentence than people who took part in physical violence during the riots. You know, like you were saying, there was a sort of a narrative that took hold that that was what was causing the violence, that it was social media that needed to be clamped down hard. Though I think that, you know, more evidence has emerged since then that no, a lot of it was local people with local concerns, not justifying what they did. But it certainly was not primarily incited by social media. And I think that there's a wider question to be asked about free speech. And I think that a lot of people question the police's priorities in many instances where they've gone to arrest people for things that they've said online, whilst neglecting other, you know, crimes that people feel they're more affected by in their local areas that police just aren't focusing resources on.
Well, this is going to be really fascinating. And we expect to get the result tomorrow, do we?
Yes.
I don't suppose we have any idea what time, but we'll see.
I don't know that. Yeah, I can't tell you that.
That's all right. No, fair enough. Well, we might well end up speaking tomorrow, but watch this space. Such a fascinating case in so many regards, really, because it would be a little bit like if she's successful, the case could be made that it vindicates everyone who says that it was ridiculous the length of time that people were sent to prison, etc. Of course, if she is unsuccessful, I think there's going to be a lot of very, very unhappy people about that. So we'll watch this space and make sure you keep tuned into GB News because we'll break that news as soon as we get it tomorrow. Thank you very much. That is journalist Candice Holsworth there. All the very best. Wow. Coming up, tomorrow's front pages and the breaking news on the front of the Sun. Get your heads around this. An Italian taxi driver has accused our Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, of threatening him in a massive row over an allegedly unpaid taxi fare. There's also things like a couple of pictures which are claiming to be from the back of this man's taxi that would appear to show that David Lammy has left it in an absolute state. There was also something that David Lammy is quoted as, by the way, he denies all of this stuff, but he's quoted as using some kind of, well, would you say racial slur? I'm not sure. You tell me. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst widespread sunny skies return to the UK, rain clears Italy but pushes into Greece, where it will become increasingly windy by Friday. Fairly breezy for the Canaries, but it's mostly fine here with partly cloudy skies across Spain, Portugal into Gibraltar. 1 or 2 showers, otherwise plenty of sunshine. But for Italy, it's been very unsettled here, particularly in the south. We do have the rain and the wind pushing now into Greece, where it will be unsettled for a few days before turning brighter later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, high pressure remains dominating our weather, which means lots of dry, settled weather, lots more sunshine to come, though it's eastern areas where it can often be cloudy and a lot cooler, and it's all thanks to high pressure sitting to the north of the country, dragging in a northeasterly flow, so more of a breeze here and much more cloud too. And we'll see that pattern as we head through this evening and overnight. More cloud clipping into southern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England, and then towards dawn across central and southern parts. This cloud quite low at times, possibly even bringing some mist and fog, but many areas should remain dry, rather clear, but that does mean temperatures are going to slip away, particularly across Scotland, perhaps even some rural frost by the time we reach the early hours of the morning. So to start, it could be a little bit chilly, perhaps some low cloud across the very far northeast of the country, perhaps eastern parts of Aberdeenshire, but otherwise largely dry, clear and similar across Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, though once again low cloud creeping into eastern counties. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a fairly bright start once again, still a little bit chilly, but warming up nicely through the course of the day. Once again, particularly western areas feeling very warm in wall-to-wall sunshine, but across eastern areas still that low cloud set to linger, still a decent breeze here too, so often feeling chillier with cloudier skies, but otherwise lots of warm sunshine, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the south. Then as we head into Saturday, the beginning of the weekend, likely a bit more cloud to start the morning, some mist and fog in places, but once again, eventually through the morning, we'll see it clear through, and by the afternoon, wall-to-wall blue skies, plenty of sunshine, but still a chance we could see that low cloud lingering across eastern areas, and it remains fairly similar as we turn into Sunday and Monday, with temperatures widely in the low 20s.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Some astonishing front pages for you here. Let's start with the Metro, £9.5 billion, staggering cost of benefit fraud and claim clangers. Well, actually, believe it or not, that's better than the last time we got benefit fraud figures, because they were at £11 billion. In fact, there was an entire town in Bulgaria built off benefits fraud in Britain, so I suppose it's coming down at least. The iPaper, UK scrambles for new migrant deal in Balkans after Albania's snub. It's almost like he's just clutching at straws, isn't it? Could it be Serbia? Could it be Bosnia? Could it be North Macedonia? Oh, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it can't be Rwanda, so there we are. The Daily Mail, Starmer left squirming by Albania farce. Plan to send asylum seekers to the Balkans implodes on live television. Yes, it did. Here we go, everybody. This is the one. This is the one. It's on the front of the Sun. Exclusive. David Lammy Ding Dong. Foreign sec yelled effing French at me, says a fair row cab driver. They're calling it Taxigate. So, Foreign Secretary David Lammy shouted effing French during a furious row over a taxi fare. That's according to the driver. Now, it's important to say that David Lammy and his wife, as it turns out, because she was in the car, they deny everything. They deny everything. But the allegations are that he got into the back of a taxi, wanted the taxi to drive 600 miles. The taxi drove 600 miles. That he then didn't want to pay a fare. He left the back of the taxi looking like a rubbish bin. He then swore and kicked off at the driver and indeed used some kind of racial slur, and then just sauntered off into the night, but didn't take his luggage out of the boot of the car. So the guy, the taxi driver, then went back to the police station, didn't he, and left the luggage in the boot of the car. Christian, take it away.
Well, what I'd point out, first of all, not 5 minutes ago did I say we should go to war with France.
Yeah.
And already our Foreign Secretary is shouting effing French at taxi drivers.
Can I just say, it's the first bit of the take on reform strategy from number 10. It's a more...
So, here's the story, and I'm going to defend David Lammy. What happens is Lammy goes on the state visit to Italy with the King, and afterwards he arranges a private ski holiday in France with his wife.
At his own expense.
At his own expense. So he gets the cab that he says is prepaid for, but when they arrive at the hotel at 2 a.m, the taxi driver turns around and starts demanding an extra £600-700, which he refuses to pay because he claims it's all been paid for. The taxi driver then drives to the local police station with the luggage still in the boot. I understand money is missing from Mrs. Lammy's suitcase after all of this, and he's now being counter-charged with theft. So it's a right mess, and they emphatically deny it. It strikes me this guy might be a bit dodgy.
Who was the cab driver? The cab driver.
And it's also worth saying that this is all coming out, actually, because France doesn't have contempt of court laws, so there's nothing to stop this taxi driver selling his story and jeopardising the trial. But I actually feel a bit sorry for David.
Absolutely.
Do you really?
No, I don't.
I've got to say.
Why don't you feel sorry for him, Anna?
Well, first of all, you know, if he is effing and blinding like this, I think he's got no business to be our Foreign Secretary. I mean, I think it's incredibly unbecoming. I just think he's terrible, really. And
you don't feel sorry for him if he's been fleeced?
I think it's embarrassing.
€700.
No, but if that is the case, then obviously I've got some sympathy. But why would the taxi driver you know, drive to a police station if he's actually stealing money off him? And the way he's left the back seat is disgusting, isn't it?
Well, hang on, we haven't got the picture of the back seat.
We're working on getting that picture up for you. The picture's just landed. So this is the picture of the back seat. I'll describe it for you. On the back seat, it appears to be an empty Starbucks container, what looks like it might be an apple core, a sandwich wrapper, a sandwich bag, a fork, a coffee lid. I mean, it's disgusting.
Just gross.
You wouldn't leave someone's...
Well, I think he wasn't... I think he probably would have taken the stuff with him if the cab driver hadn't driven off with his luggage. He didn't have time to clear the back seat while the cab driver was running off with his luggage, Patrick. Let's be fair to him.
Why is our Foreign Secretary...
Because he was going on a personal holiday.
Well, there is a wider question here, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I am astonished that the Foreign Secretary is ever allowed to go anywhere without his security.
That is what I think. Questions need to be... He's been let down.
We've got this happening shortly after... in fact, it's better not say that because I think there's been a development in that case today, hasn't there? But, no, but we've got this. The Foreign Secretary, you know, basically driving across two countries in a taxi with his wife. It doesn't seem very secure, does it?
Well, I think that's the big question, I think, absolutely.
And littering in the back of the taxi.
Anna,
I can't say that's...
The driver drove... Anna, just tell me physically how he could empty the back seat whilst the driver was driving off with his luggage.
What we'll say, though, is
sit on the back seat, Matthew, and just spread all your litter all around. I just don't...
Well, I don't throw it out the window. Is that what you're suggesting?
Of course not. But I just don't believe you...
I was a big fan of the Wombles.
Can I also just say one thing? If our Foreign Secretary can't immediately make a call to someone and get his luggage back, right? I would have thought that there were ways and means of doing this, and I just think it's quite a damning.
It does seem like this is the sort of farce that plays out in a sort of second world Eastern European country.
Yes.
Not the sixth largest economy, His Majesty's Foreign Secretary, you know, being supposedly threatened at knife point by a dodgy taxi driver at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Is Lammy saying he pulled a knife?
There are claims and that there was a possible knife involved, although he claims it was a spoon.
The taxi driver claims it was a spoon, not David Lammy. So Anna, when the taxi driver goes down, I hope you'll apologise to David Lammy and treat him as the victim that he is.
If this goes the other way entirely, which is that David Lammy did not pay a taxi driver, swore at him because he's French.
Then he'll be in trouble.
And then
If David Lammy swore at someone for being French, I'll pay his bail.
I mean, literally, it's worth attacking the saying the alleged racial slur, which is on the front of the Sun, so we don't need to repeat it. It's up there on the screen. I think that's worth 2% on the 2% off reform and back onto the Labour vote.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a bad luck, but here we go.
At least they didn't leave the D-Day celebration as a commemorations early like our former Prime Minister.
Paul Brand, by the way, an odious little man who did his best job. He is. Who did his best to try and bring down Boris Johnson. For some reason, Rishi Sunak decided to go and speak to that personality
rather than respect our veterans.
Exactly.
I'm not defending that. Obviously.
No. Right. So last night, a spokesman. I'm assuming that means tonight, but anyway, a spokesman for the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office told The Sun, "We totally refute these allegations. The fare was paid in full. The Foreign Secretary and his wife are named as victims in this matter, and the driver has been charged with theft. As there is an ongoing legal process, it would be inappropriate to comment further." It's a complete farce, isn't it? An ally of Mr. Lammy said... anyone choosing to believe made-up stories and photos from a rogue taxi driver charged with a serious crime by French prosecutors over the UK Foreign Secretary needs to get a grip.
I'm back in the Brit.
Oh my God.
Oh, God, let's see how this goes. Oh, yeah, so it'll look like I've taken the side of I'm not back the Brit. Yeah, OK, fair enough. Well, I've never had a bad experience with a French taxi driver, so there we go. Coming up, are there still time... What the heck is this? Oh, yeah, there's still time. There's still time to be part of my audience on Friday. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast every day from 6 a.m.
Eve, very good morning. You commentate on this. This is your subject. What do you think? Why is this happening? Because we're sitting now. I'm at a stage now where all my kids are growing up. Whatever. I don't have to face this thing anymore. But I'm suddenly stopping and going, what? What am I paying this for? Why are we paying this? Why is this going to 750 schools and not all schools?
So this is a pilot run by the Department for Education to look at how this programme can work. It was a manifesto commitment from the Labour Party at the last election, and they're very keen to roll this out nationally, but they're doing this pilot for a short period until July to see how they can do this effectively to ensure that it meets the most children. So really, that's a kind of sensible way of rolling out what is quite a big programme.
It's important to do the pilots and study it and see who it helps and who it doesn't and how expensive it could be if it's rolled out nationally. Well, exactly. What do they say about that, Eve? I mean, where are they going to get the money to pay for it?
So they've committed to 30 million towards it. To be honest, we're in a situation as a country where 1/4 of primary school teachers are saying that they regularly spend their own money on feeding kids. That cannot be right. We know that we've got a child poverty problem in this country, and I think it's a reasonably good use of taxpayers' money to be spending it on ensuring that children go to school and they are fed and able to learn.
Well, I just look and I think the basic primary parental responsibility is to look after your children, to feed your children. And I sit and scratch my head and say, of all the things that we can do as parents, all the things we can spend money on, are you telling me that you can't give your kid a bit of toast and a cup of tea in the morning?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. We're only on GB News. 2 more front pages for you here. We start with the Daily Telegraph. Children to be taught to show some grit. They go, pupils need more robust mental health to cope with life's ups and downs, say ministers. Essentially, what they're trying to do is toughen kids up. So we'll return to this in a second, I think. The picture story there, by the way, is Roman Lavrinovich, who's 21. And he is the Ukrainian charged over the Starmer firebombs. A Ukrainian man has been charged in connection with a series of arson attacks allegedly targeting the Prime Minister. And that, of course, is just about all we're allowed to say on that particular case for now. But the Daily Express, mum deserves peace of mind in right to die fight. Dame Esther Ranson's daughter has urged MPs to give her mum peace of mind and back assisted dying today. Well, just on this, so Is this because this is tomorrow's front page? So tomorrow in Parliament, is there a vote on assisted dying then?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes, I mean, it's very interesting because we've had a couple of MPs come out and change their minds. I think a couple of those who didn't vote are now thinking they might vote. I do wonder if there might just still be enough votes for it to squeak through.
Yeah, I thought Esther Ranson didn't want to die anymore, but anyway, well, she's changed apparently. The Daily Telegraph, let's talk about this. Children to be taught to show some grit. All right, Anna, so look, it's time to toughen up the kids, is it?
Yeah, well, I actually do think that we've got this absolute epidemic of anxiety and depression, and we said in the article that, you know, we've now got a fifth of 8 to 16-year-olds with a probable mental health condition. I'm afraid I think part of this is just growing up. And I do think that, you know, kids have got to get off phones and doing more healthy stuff, frankly, and you know, living healthier lifestyles. And we just cannot go down, you know, a perpetual route of, you know, reaching for labels, you know, giving people excuses, and then, of course, you know, popping pills and goodness knows what else.
Can I just say, sorry, there's a story also on the front of the Telegraph, but it's a little bit lower down. It's a really good front page, this, on the Telegraph, actually, but security fears over China-Mauritius deal. It's all gone very quiet over the Chagos Islands, and I think that, you know, that moved on a bit, and, you know, these stories have got shelf life. But Christian, you're chuckling. Yeah. Why are you chuckling? What's the story about the Chagos at the bottom of the Telegraph here?
The Chinese ambassador to Mauritius has said she supports deepening fully-fledged exchanges and cooperation between China and Mauritius after a meeting with the Mauritian Prime Minister. And obviously this is a concern because the Chagos Island hosts a key military base. We're going to hand it over to Mauritius and then lease the base back, but there are serious concerns over China's level of control, or at least friendship and cooperation with Mauritius, about actually how secure that base could be if things really kicked off with China. And I certainly would feel more secure in our ownership of the base if we actually owned it rather than renting it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we should be giving it away at all. And we should have started with, you know, David Cameron, when he took over in the Foreign Office, you know, quashed the whole thing. And goodness knows why Sir Keir Starmer is doing this. This is another disastrous decision on his part.
Backed by Donald Trump.
Not backed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump was careful not to sort of get involved.
No, he said that the White House made clear they supported it, Anna. That's just not the case.
Matthew, let me put this to you. So OK, the Trump thing is one thing. Let me just put this to you. The Chinese ambassador to Mauritius said she supported basically much closer cooperation between those two countries. So we give the Chagos to Mauritius, China cozies up to Mauritius, you can all see what happens next.
Well, we're not giving it, we're renting it back. So, you know, for
100 years.
It's ours.
And I remember the last time...
Well, I think it's actually the Chagosians, but I mean, call me old-fashioned. Which, to be fair, the deal doesn't respect.
And the Chagosians absolutely opposed this deal.
Yeah, I'm not saying I support the deal.
Despite their objections. But I think we should just remember, ironically, you know, the last time we had a big sort of leasing deal was Hong Kong, you know, with the Chinese, and we look at the level of respect that China has given to the agreement with Hong Kong, trampling over civil liberties, completely going
and then threatening us with war when we have to stick to it. I'll never forget that. We said, look, there's a treaty here, and we said, do you mind sticking to it? And they said there was if you want war with China, you can have it. It's like, what? No, I don't want war. I just want you to... It's
astonishing.
It's
astonishing that Keir Starmer has the gall to complain about money wasted on Rwanda when he's spending billions of pounds. You know, at least that was spending quite a lot of money to try and deal with the migrant problem. This is spending billions of pounds to give away our own overseas territory.
£9 billion of our own money.
Well, look...
Over 100 years.
We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But, look, yeah, it's an interesting story that I imagine will be doing the rounds a lot tomorrow, which is whether or not we are going to essentially be giving the Chagos Islands to Mauritius at the exact same time that Mauritius cozies up to China. I think...
and we've got breaking news tonight, Patrick, on the sporting front.
Oh, God, I wouldn't know you were going to crowbar this thing. Go on.
Come on, guys. Southend United have won their match. They went from being 3-1 down this evening against Rochdale to 4-3 up.
They're weeping in Rochdale.
They've won.
So apparently it was quite dramatic, that game.
It was a very dramatic game. It's been playing out as we've been here, and they're now through to the semi-finals against Forest Green, and then it's Wembley.
Dale Vince, his club.
Oh, what a match-off that would be. The Forest Green vegans, eco-loons versus Southend.
I want to see Anna and Dale Vince in the director's box having a bit of a Barney.
Southend all the way there. I must say, I might turn up to that, actually.
Well, you'll come to Wembley, I hope, Patrick.
Yes, all right, if you're as an honoured guest.
Definitely.
Hey!
All right.
A freebie.
OK, brilliant stuff. All right, well, we've still got a clip that I want to show you of what appears to be some kind of rabbit driving around in a car. But before that, we go to headliners, because it's presented tonight by Josh Howie. And Josh, what on earth have you got coming up on your show?
Well, as you know, only half the newspapers come out, so we're going to be reacting as they come out live. I've had a root canal, so I am absolutely pumped full of drugs. We're going to see if we're going to make it to the next of the end hour. The big story I found inside the papers, though, is it turns out Chinese kill switches have been found in US solar farms. What does that mean for the UK, for net zero? What does it mean for our power grid? Also, we have a Falklands landing craft repainted with the trans pride flag. It is going to be a great hour. Stick around, please.
OK.
Sorry, I am on drugs, but that's OK.
OK, well, this is, again, something that you don't get on the BBC. Or maybe you do, they just don't tell you about it. All right, anyway, well done, Josh. Good luck, and good luck, everyone. So, it's time now to meet Alex the Great, who was once destined for slaughter. However, his story changed at 3.5 weeks old after he was rescued by a couple. And this is his life now.
What?
Yeah, it's a rabbit that just... Yeah, I know. It's a rabbit that just drives around San Francisco in a car.
It's like Bambi got onto the Motability scheme, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Let's face it, everyone else has. I'll say it before somebody else does.
Is that a real rabbit?
Yes. It's a real rabbit.
So why doesn't it jump
It's Alex the Great. It's Alex the Great. No, seriously.
What, is it strapped in?
It's just
strapped in. Well, I don't know if safety's necessarily the first...
typical lazy American, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, this is a slightly fat rabbit driving around San Francisco. But anyway, there we go. Well,
probably with a trans flag.
There we go. Well, that's it for today, so probably just as well. Thank you very much to my wonderful panel. Good luck, Josh, as well, after his little trip to the dentist. Thank you for all watching and listening, and I'll be back tomorrow with a live studio audience in this studio. I'll see you then.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, high pressure remains dominating our weather, which means lots of dry, settled weather, lots more sunshine to come, though it's eastern areas where it can often be cloudy and a lot cooler, and it's all thanks to high pressure sitting to the north of the country, dragging in a northeasterly flow, so more of a breeze here and much more cloud too. And we'll see that pattern as we head through this evening and overnight. More cloud clipping into southern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England, and then towards dawn across central and southern parts. This cloud quite low at times, possibly even bringing some mist and fog, but many areas should remain dry, rather clear, but that does mean temperatures are going to slip away, particularly across Scotland, perhaps even some rural frost by the time we reach the early hours of the morning. So to start, it could be a little bit chilly, perhaps some low cloud across the very far northeast of the country, perhaps eastern parts of Aberdeenshire, but otherwise largely dry, clear and similar across Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, though once again low cloud creeping into eastern counties. Elsewhere across England and Wales, a fairly bright start once again, still a little bit chilly, but warming up nicely through the course of the day. Once again, particularly western areas feeling very warm in wall-to-wall sunshine, but across eastern areas, still that low cloud set to linger, still a decent breeze here too, so often feeling chillier with cloudier skies, but otherwise lots of warm sunshine, highs reaching around 23 degrees Celsius across the south. Then as we head into Saturday, the beginning of the weekend, likely a bit more cloud to start the morning, some mist and fog in places, but once again, eventually through the morning, we'll see it clear through, and by the afternoon, wall-to-wall blue skies, plenty of sunshine, but still a chance we could see that low cloud lingering across eastern areas, and it remains fairly similar as we turn into Sunday and Monday, with temperatures widely in the low 20s.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner on the road in this brand new Alnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. We'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. And it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
It's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to give you the very best of tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out how the Albanian Prime Minister has humiliated ours, why schools are now being told to teach our children grit, and do the Chinese have total control of our power system? I'm Josh Howie. Tonight I am joined by comedians Steve N. Allen, look at them, and Nick